in. Come on back in. How you feeling? Hey, you want to sit up? Why don't you come sit right here? Come sit right here. Thank you. Have a seat. That way, if you have to make a quick getaway, you can just zoom right on out. You have anybody with you?
Yeah.
Who?
46 people from the Young Republicans.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hey. Hey, whoa. Look at this set. Isn't this beautiful? Okay. Whoa. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. It's Rush Limbaugh on TV, and we've got our Christmas decorations up. I just love this time of year. We've got our tree here, and came in on Sunday, got this thing ready to go. Our gentleman sitting here, look at what we did to the Nooge, too. Made him up to be Santa Claus. Our gentleman seated here had to leave during the audience Q&A, which you missed, wasn't feeling well, just came back as we were starting the show, and I asked him to sit here in case he has to make a quick getaway once again. He won't have to go in front of a group of people. Also, head over there, because those two ladies from Arkansas. Hi, ladies. We have two women in Arkansas, from Arkansas, ladies and gentlemen, who've never been in a hotel with Bill Clinton. There they are. And we looked hard to find them. Anybody see 60 Minutes on Sunday night, by any chance? The president went back to that television show, said some incredible things about Bosnia. He said that we're going to leave in 1 year, regardless. Now, my friends, whether you agree with the deployment of troops to Bosnia or not, this doesn't make any sense. To go into what in essence is a domestic situation with a police force, which is what our troops are in this instance, and then to say, we're here to promote peace, we're here as peacekeepers, but in a year we're leaving. What would you do? You just sit around and wait for the year to go by, wait for us to leave, and then resume hostilities. And this was pointed out to the president, and he said this. He said, well, if hostilities resume, it means we gave them a chance to make their peace, and they blew it. Now, folks, do you remember, anybody here remember this, I'm sure, John Lennon and Yoko Ono got a bunch of people together in a hotel room in Canada, 1969 or 70, as many of them as possible squeezed into a bed and recorded a song called Give Peace a Chance. We have now implemented as U.S. foreign policy a John Lennon Yoko Ono song. All we are saying is give peace a 1 year limit. You can't define a mission by the length of time and say, regardless the situation when the year ends, we're pulling out. How about the announcement he made when he said, women and children we must save. We can't save them all, but we must do what we can. What about the women and children after we leave? It's pure politics. It is obviously aimed at this objective. What can I do to get myself reelected? And that means pull these people out of there right before the November election. I was going through the Wall Street Journal last week. Found the most incredible story. Women working at the Glendale, California office of Crossland Mortgage have filed a same-sex harassment complaint against their women bosses. What happened is that these women said that their bosses would come up to them and engage in explicit conversations about their and their employees' anatomy. And some of the bosses had employees lift their blouses so they could compare breast sizes at this office. So they took this case to a judge, and they asked the judge to rule in their favor sexual harassment. The judge says, no, when women are doing this to other women, it's not hostile. There's no abuse of power going on here. So he said, no, really, he said, now this is nothing more than a bawdy sorority, this office. And I got to thinking about this. This might be just a fun place to drive by and look through the windows and see what's going on. Or you could go in there and actually get a mortgage and then say, hey, how about shaving a couple of points off that mortgage for me? What do you think? Audience seems a little uncomfortable with that one. My friends, I was in Washington, D.C. Back in November, and one of the things I did was address GOPAC at the Sunday night, the keynote speech for their 3 or 4 day meeting. And it was televised on C-SPAN. Then last week, you remember when Senator Kennedy brought well-known sociologist Whoopi Goldberg to town to comment on the validity of welfare. And it was an endless parade of sob stories and whining from people who basically wanted to say that without welfare they wouldn't be who they are, which is true, but it's not in the way they mean it. And one of the things that Senator Kennedy did, and I didn't know this until my staff here showed me some video of this, Senator Kennedy actually used a clip of my speech to help make the point about what Republicans and conservatives are. And I want to show you a little bit of it. It runs a long time, and I'm going to show you the whole thing. But it's funny because he's got his guy standing over by the video machine, and Senator Kennedy leads into it and says, all right, put it in. They can't get the volume up. They can't turn it up right. The whole thing, it doesn't go well. But it's just funny to see Senator Kennedy introducing something, and it's me. So take a look at this and see if you don't find this a little humorous.
If we could, I might just show you the other side very briefly. It'll take just a minute to see what some in Washington who are not having hearings and not listening to people, their assessment.
Stop the tape. Stop the tape. Now keep in mind, I am a broadcast personality. You know, I am a radio and TV talk show host. Now, don't misunderstand. I'm not trying to diminish myself. But Senator Kennedy is using me as he would use a policymaker. As somebody, I mean, the Speaker of the House is at this meeting and is also making a speech, went before me. But he didn't show anything of Newt. He shows me to try to rev up the opposition as though I somehow am directly involved in policy. John, go ahead and roll the tape again.
Is out whether it's in North Dakota or whether it's in the schools of this country, or whether it's in the food banks. Maybe.
Now, this is where it doesn't go well. Can't figure out how to start it. There it comes.
Turn it up.
Scaremongering.
Turn it up.
Who wants to vote for that? Who
Turn it
wants
up.
to support that? Who wants to campaign on that? Turn it up. I want to hear myself. We've got the audience that wraps the turn it up. We are correct. We have the right things for the people in this country on our side. We just can't waver from it. When they call us people who want to starve kids, we have to laugh at them, throw it back in their face, and illustrate just how stupid that is. Ask them to produce a starving kid. Now they got it turned up. Where is one? I haven't seen a starving kid.
Look, you know, 10 people in America every day go hungry.
Yeah, how are you defining that?
Well, they say they'd like to have more to eat.
Well, you know, I say that every day, too. Am I starving? Nobody's starving in this country. Good grief, the notion's silly. In fact, going to kick old folks out of their... I could not believe this. They had some nursing home executive director during some committee hearing, and she came up and she said,
Well, I'll tell you what, the old people in my nursing home, they feel like you just may as well line them up and shoot them.
line them up and shoot them, and she was serious. And of course, the liberals in the committee,
We understand. We understand.
well, why? Why are people saying this? And I'll tell you why. There are people who believe it. There you go, folks. Now they tried at that point to play the second clip, and they couldn't even find it. And it just became a comedy of errors. And I watched this, and I said, what is wrong with any of that? This business about hunger is absolutely true. There have been a number of studies done at any number of think tanks. And it really is true. The way the people who want you to believe that there's rampant starvation in this country have convinced people of it is they do go out and ask people, are you satisfied at the end of the day, or are you hungry? And most people are going to say, sure, I'd like more to eat. It's another one of these liberal gray areas where they're trying to create an illusion that doesn't really exist. We all know that this is the richest, most bountiful country on the face of the earth. We not only feed ourselves, we feed half of the rest of the world. And we're spending so much money already on wealth transfers that if there is hunger in this country, it is not because you and I and everybody else is not paying enough taxes. It's because the distribution system isn't there, or the fraud, or something. But we all know that there's more. We pay farmers to put their crops in silos and not sell it. We pay farmers not to grow food. And how these people can come around and then say Republicans want to starve kids and then come up and use me. I have to show you how out of touch they are. I really think anybody who sees that is going to say, yeah, that is kind of true. Why Senator Kennedy using this to make his point? Because it really doesn't help him make his point, which is, I think, an illustration of how off the point they really are. We come back, I got to show you some funny clips from Vice President Al Gore on Meet the Depressed on Sunday, continuing to illustrate our point here about how these people are just willing to totally demagogue and engage in fraud and deceit to make their point, even in the face of evidence to the contrary. Take a break. Be back right after this with the rest of it. All right, as you may have noticed, the president's approval ratings are up to 55%. We've showed you polling data which indicate that only 22% of the American people understand that the Republican Medicare plan actually doubles spending at the rate of inflation twice. It increases spending up to $7,000 per recipient. It's now $4,800. 51% either don't know that or think that it's a cut. And the Democrats are getting away with this because of, as you know, they're willing accomplices in the press helping to spread the falsehoods and the lies. And even, I mean, they've grown so accustomed to the demagoguery, ladies and gentlemen, even when confronted with the truth, they still, without apparently any conscience, look straight into the camera, just as I am now, and continue to lie about it. And it happened yesterday on Meet the Press with Vice President Al Gore. Now, the first question that we're going to show you comes from Tim Russert, and he's got a chart that explains the differences in Medicare coverage from the Clinton budget plan to the Republican budget plan, and it picks up from that point. It's easily understandable and very self-explanatory. Take a look and listen to what Al Gore says about it.
Your monthly premiums will go up to $77 a month. The Republicans say $89. How can a $5 billion difference in the year 2002 portray the Republicans as devastating and Bill Clinton is not?
Well, I don't go along with your numbers.
Now, those numbers that you just saw are the administration's numbers. This is the whole point, ladies and gentlemen. The $77, I mean, it really boggles the mind. The $77 per month that the seniors will pay in their Part B premiums is the administration figure. And the 89 is a Republican figure, so $12 a month difference there. And Gore says, well, first place, I disagree with your numbers. How can he? Unless he's willing to just engage in willful fraud and deceit right in front of everybody else. Here's the rest of his answer as he tries to explain his $12 differential.
There are two differences. Number one, in President Clinton's plan, Medicare premiums do not go up. In the Republican plan, premiums do go up. The second difference is...
Mr. Vice President, in real dollars, the premium now is $45. Mm-hmm. In the year 2002, under your plan, it would be a minimum of $77.
But of course, everything goes up with the inflation each year. And Medicare premiums are pegged at 25%, at the 25% level. Under the Republican plan, that increase would go up $11, $12 right away, and that differential would continue as inflation takes both numbers up.
Look, folks, here's what's the argument here is. At present, senior citizens pay 31.5% of the total cost of the premium. You and I, the taxpayers, and children and grandchildren of the senior citizens pay, what would that be, 68%, 69% of the premiums. The Republican plan wants to cut the premiums that seniors pay, or increase, cut it down to, or the administration wants to cut it to 25%. And the Republican plan leaves it at the current 31%. There is no increase under the Republican plan, the seniors as a percentage or anything else. The administration wants to cut it to 25% and have the taxpayers pick up 75% of the premiums. That is the major difference. It really is just an argument of should the administration get away with cutting the premiums and raise the cost on everybody else, or keep it the way it is. And that's what the administration is saying will result in old people getting sick and dying because they'll have to come up with more money. They won't. On a percentage basis, they're paying the same thing. And he says, well, of course, everything goes up with inflation. Which, really bright. I mean, I'll show you one more after this break. Don't go away. All right, now this next one's choice. You remember when the president, in a State of the Union speech, said that he was going to use numbers from the Congressional Budget Office in any budget in his future because they have been more accurate. Russert asked Al Gore why the president has now gone away from CBO numbers, and here's the question and answer.
Now, the president pledged to use the congressional numbers. They have been proven to be more accurate. Why did you abandon those numbers for your own, which some suggest are squishy?
Well, let's talk about this issue. First of all, the tape that you just showed was from 3 years ago at the very beginning of the administration, when the Congressional Budget Office numbers were the ones that stood in contrast to the Reagan-Bush OMB assumptions, which everybody, Republicans and Democrats alike, considered to be wildly over-optimistic in projecting growth and strengthen the economy and so forth. Alice Rivlin had set up the CBO and established it as an authoritative source. What's happened in the last 3 years?
What?
Couple things. The Republicans have changed the people at CBO.
Oh,
Alice
stop
Rivlin.
the tape because we're short of time. Two things. He said, well, that was when Alice Rivlin was running CBO, and now she's with us. And what the president really was saying was, we're going to use Alice Rivlin's numbers. Now, come on. This is another attempt to fudge the issue. This is an excuse. This is really, how stupid do I think the American people are, and how can I get away with yet another example of fraud? The fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, that the guy, and we showed you this last week, who's in charge of budget analysis at the CBO, has been there since 1981. The guy who does budget analysis has been at the CBO and hasn't changed for what, 14 years. Now, they don't want to use the CBO numbers because they don't look good. They're not the numbers that they want to use. And so they just blithely go about changing their opinion on these things, changing their stance. And instead of just saying the truth, well, we don't like CBO numbers anymore, they try to just run an end run or a double reverse around all of this. And in the face of the facts, this is what I said at the beginning of all this, in the face of the facts, you saw the chart, in the face of the evidence with the prior clip of the President's State of the Union address, they still have no problem. So I couldn't sleep at night doing this stuff. I couldn't sleep at night lying to people in their face about this stuff. But these people are getting away with it. Poll numbers show them way up. So they figure, what, me worry? It's kind of like Alfred E. Newman here in the White House and the administration. Take a break. Be back right after this. Don't go away. Hey, folks, I'd like to show you what I think of Senator Ernest Hollings when I hear him speak.
By the time the next president takes office in January 1997, there are going to be $400 billion just interest costs on the debt. Now, we don't have the luxury. We used to talk about children and grandchildren 15, 20 years ago. Now it's us. We're up against a wall now, but nobody wants to recognize it. That's why I ask for more revenues. I'm not a loon.
It's that dog again.
I never realized it was as bad as this.
Well, that's it. We got to go. We're out of here. See you next time, folks. Glad you were with us. Bye-bye.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
If you'd like to order a video cassette of Rush's TV show for only $24.95, just call Video Archives at 1-800-FOR-VIDEO. For a transcript, send $5 to Burrell's, Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey 07039, or call 1-800-777-TEXT.